the last sip of coffee because we're live now. Good evening, folks. Hope you're all keeping safe and well and enjoying your week so far. And that's the middle of the week. 2 days to go to the weekend and a couple of days closer to Christmas. Anyway, Sarah should be joining us at some point, but tonight we are in the presence of greatness. What can I say? No, I'll tell you the truth, really. You know, I just wanted to make his head bigger than it was. Tonight we are welcoming back GSI, John for GSI. Now, GSI, to put you in the picture, were one of the first teams that we ever interviewed way back over 2 years ago, something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
Long, long time. And we've kept a really close bond with them over that time. We investigated with them in Sherwood Forrest last year. For a Halloween special kind of thing, and hopefully they're coming up to Scotland beginning the next year times, round about then, you know. But we have, and we class each other as family now. And so it's been a few months since we've had them in because, you know, we've been busy, they've been busy, you know, the usual, everybody's busy. But we managed to grab them tonight, the megastar, Mr. John.
Hi. I appreciated your first intro. That was much better than that. Yeah, we're just mates. You know, that's mediocre.
I thought the second one was better because it explains who hi, Randall, buddy. It explains who you are. You're not just some random guy popping up on the screen.
Yeah, well, yeah, I suppose, yeah.
You know, but a lot of you won't have met GSI before. They are on Paraflix. They're on season 4 now at Paraflix.
Just finished filming last week.
You'll see a cat going across the way. You might see this a few times. We kitten will go back and forward. There's Craig saying hello and Laura, both in their team, their husband and wife.
Evening, Laura.
I forgot what I was saying. Aye, so the one thing about GSI, and it's going to make his head even bigger, but, you know, I'm going to be totally honest, is they're on Paraflix. They're in season 4 of Paraflix, and they're doing amazingly well. So we've known them for over 2 years, and we've seen them grow from strength to strength, basically. But the one thing that always strikes me is they're enjoying the success, which is fantastic, but they've kept it genuine and they've kept it real and down to earth. John does get carried away now and again with the Hollywood stuff and what have you, but in all seriousness, even though they are getting bigger and bigger, they have kept it genuine. They've no really changed since the day we met them.
It's the only way to be, mate.
As in John's no changed his top since the day we met him, so that gives you a wee insight.
I'll be fine.
That's literally. Hey, what's that? There's a scary voice just come on. What was that?
That's Sarah. Sarah will be 5 minutes.
All right, okay.
And she'll be joining us. So anyway, about GSI, we've not had them on since we started the new page, so we've got a load of new followers who've never seen them before. So I'm going to let John tell us a wee bit about who is GSI.
Oh, God. Who we are. God, it seems so long ago now. You know, I forget what I did last week, let alone what we did 5 years ago.
That's old age.
Yes. Old age dementia really creeping in, I'm afraid.
Kicking in big style.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm sure you know it well. You must be 5 years in front of me.
No, well, I'm telling you, I'm dreading hitting 40. I really am.
You look at it. It must have been a very, very hard paper round for you, Chief.
I had 27 people in my paper round.
All uphill.
All uphill. I'm glad.
No, it's been so long since I've had a chance to take the mick out, obviously. That's it. I'm out now. I'm done.
I will just get it all out. You know,
we'll be here for some time, mate, if I did that.
I'll give you 60 seconds to say your piece.
No, I'm done. What was your question?
Who's GSI?
Who's GSI? Myself and Ralph, we are the co-owners and founders of GSI 2017, I think. Started off as a YouTube channel. First investigation was at Foxwood. 5 years later, we're on season 4 of Paraflix. Yeah, really pushed the envelope from season 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. Hello, stranger.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
I'm all right. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right, up. I'm all right. Surviving. Now we've moved house and Christmas is coming.
Oh, that's right. You moved house. How's that? How did that work out?
Stressful. I wanted to kill people.
Good stuff. Good stuff. Good stuff. Well, that's that bit out of the way. You've moved house. Great. Congratulations. Aye. We're done with that.
So we was been on YouTube. We was asked to take part in a few different streaming sites. We eventually got picked up by Paraflix, and I think been with them for 2 years now. On to the 4th season. Last 6 months ago, we made original status on there. We've got a nice big badge, as we were one of the first of the UK producers for Paraflix. And I think there's only about 4 or 5 out of 70 that produce from the UK. So yeah, I mean, we don't like to brag or get big heads. So like Scott says, we keep it as real as we can get. We do try new techniques, try and push it, but we've got to have fun along the way and keep it grounded. Otherwise, what's the point?
No, that is true. And as I said previously, even though they're enjoying major success with Paraflix, they have kept it genuine. There's no change since day one. Basically, they have kept it genuine and real, which is important. You know yourself that some teams they make it big or whatever you want to call it, and they immediately change. The passion appears and it becomes like a job.
Yeah, it becomes. How can we get the audience to jump, or what can we put in to make the audience afraid? When if your content's not enough or not edited in the right way, you're doing something wrong in the first place. If you've got to enhance and add manipulation in there just so it becomes an interesting product, then you're doing something wrong. That's the way we look at it anyway. So if with regards to the TV show, the intro, that's got to be glossy because it's a TV show. The outro's glossy because it's a TV show. The bits in between we're investigating, it's just us. What it is, what we see, you see.
Right. Well, that's exactly how it should be. You get, as you say, the outro's got to be glossy, etc. But you get these teams that after the intro, as you can tell, I've still got this blooming cough, but we'll get by. What was I saying? Aye. After the intro, they jump right into the demonic side.
Yes.
5 minutes in, they've met a demon.
And don't you notice that every time these teams go in looking for demons and ghosts and stuff, as soon as one potentially pops its head up, they run away screaming. I just think to myself, why are you a paranormal investigator? You should be flicking burgers at McDonald's or something if that's your reaction, surely.
It's like going fishing and sitting at the riverbank, with your rod, and your rod starts to twitch, and you throw your rod in the water and run away.
And run away screaming, yeah, exactly. It doesn't make any sense to us.
It doesn't, but it's when they start to get doing, that's a demon. I was talking
straight away,
Kimber, last night we were talking about this, and I like to get everybody's opinion on it because there's too many people doing it. It seems that demons are spouting up everywhere these days.
I think you'd know if you've got one.
Aye. We watched a video, Sarah and I, a few weeks back about this loony, basically, who had been in a house, and she says she's an ordained exorcist, blah, blah, blah. And she'd been in this house, and there was 6 demons in this one house. And they'd been in the house all day. They'd managed to get rid of 4, 4 had buggered off. But there was 2 still up in the loft. And so she was getting up in the loft because these wee buggers just weren't for moving. Sarah will tell you, she watched it as well.
Aye, they were using breadcrumbs to get rid of the demons.
Why? What did the breadcrumbs signify? It's not Hansel and Gretel,
I don't know. They put like a circle with a pentagram in the middle of it, but it was made of breadcrumbs.
I thought it was supposed to be made with salt.
Well, they were using like Saxo breadcrumbs. The stuff you put in your fish.
Yeah, well, I mean, salt's a purifier and cleanser, and it can also aid spiritual energy. I'm not sure what breadcrumbs does, unless you want to make chicken goujons or something. I don't know. Maybe it was hungry. Who knows?
Well, it looked like sexual breadcrumbs, and she went up in the loft and she was saying, you know, by the power of the Father and the divine, you need to go away and stuff like that. And it was just, but the thing is, people were believing this stuff.
That's the problem, but
people were commenting, "Oh wow, that's amazing. Please be careful." You know, I can see him. He's in the corner. You know, and I think she came down the stairs and she'd get rid of another one. Was it one, Sarah?
I don't know. I just remember her standing in the loft and her torch kept flickering because she'd be clicking the button, but that was like something affecting the torch, and then she was attacked or pushed or something like that.
The demon grabbed her legs, wouldn't let her walk, wouldn't let her move. She was rooted to the spot, you know. But I mean, it's stuff like that that gives us a bad name.
Hollywood demonizes professional paranormal investigators. Again, they're trying to sell a product, and the product's in the line that it is as either horror or esoteric or whatever, mystery. They've got to make it interesting, and if it's bullshit, the only way they can make it interesting is by making it scary. You're seeing something which really doesn't exist. I mean, don't get me wrong, demons do exist, but I think in 5 or 6 years we've been going, we've probably done 200 plus investigations. Potentially, we've had a location with one, potentially, and I say that because we was pretty convinced that there was a portal in the location and that something could come in and out, potentially a demon, and it didn't appear to be there at the time. Even when I got scratched at Ivy House, that's supposed to be the demon house. We didn't think it was, but we believed that there was the potential for something to be there. Other than that, including East Drive, prisons that we've done, Hellfire Caves, not a sniff. The only place was potentially Ivy House. And so we've done 200 plus investigations. So she's had 6 demons in one place. So lucky her.
She was pretty good. I mean, we done Ivy House I think it was back in March.
Yeah.
We were doing Ivy House, and you know, I will say we'd watched obviously investigation. We'd watched your investigation as well when you get the scratches on your back and what have you. But we really didn't get much activity at all.
It's a strange place, mate. It really is a strange location. It really is. I mean, we've been twice, and the second time was incredibly quiet.
So the only weird thing that happened, we got 2 weird things that happened. One was we'd locked off cameras down the stairs. So you kind of 2 big rooms down the stairs. We had a locked off camera in one of them, and it picked up what sounded like, the way I can describe it is a child's, you know, the old-fashioned school shoes used to get with the wooden heels. It sounded like that, and was a kind of giggle.
Aye, it was a kind of.
That's pretty good.
Aye, a giggle, aye.
A kid's sort of giggle sort of thing. Obviously, we were up the stairs at the time. The other thing we found weird was, I think I spoke to you about it actually, that I went down and changed the batteries in the camera, and then I went back upstairs, and we all came down about 10 minutes later, and the camera was turned off, and the light was turned off. And then it just turned itself back on.
Interesting.
There's Charlie Knowles, they were at the Ivy House race. You know, you're not saying it's paranormal, but the camera was definitely on because I checked it and then it was off and it went back on. So, you know.
Well, it's those demons, Scott. They like turning cameras off, clearly.
You see, that's one of the things I was going to ask you, because it's happened to us quite a wee bit. And you see, you've done 200 plus investigations. Have you ever had the sort of instance where cameras gone? Cameras have just turned themselves off?
Yeah. The most interesting one for us was actually at East Drive, and it was probably the only activity, apart from the odd thing that we got all night. We had 2 lock-off cameras. We met the next door neighbour before we started investigating, and she told us where the portal in the house was. Apparently, there's one at the bottom of the stairs, and then there's one at the top of the stairs. So we put 2 lock-offs, one at the top, one at the bottom. Those cameras during the night turned themselves off 16 times. They was tested. We looked back on the footage beforehand. They didn't turn themselves off once on the investigation prior or the investigation after, but 16 times during that night.
And there's no. See that's just it. I think Spirit has the capability to learn. I think the more they watch people doing investigations, the more they pick up on how cameras. It might sound stupid, but we've had that happen too many times. Like I've just.
I mean, if you think of spirits like people, some of them want, they want to be filmed or photographed or interact with us. Others don't. I mean, it just so happened that when one of the cameras got turned off, we was asking all night for the cat balls to get affected. As soon as the upstairs camera got turned off, I think it was 5 seconds later, the cat ball went off. As soon as that stopped, the camera came back on. Mm-hmm. I mean, it could be a coincidence, but it just seems awfully strange that, like I say, prior to the investigation, didn't go off once, either of the cameras. And then the investigation afterwards, without even being charged, they didn't go off once either. Which just, I mean, it could be camera malfunction on the night. We don't know. It's possible, but there's also possibly another explanation.
I think, see, that's a word coincidence. That's the word that always gets me in the paranormal. I think, because I mean, it happens to a lot of teams like battery drainage, cameras being turned off and on, and people say it's coincidence. I think it happens too often on investigations to be coincidence, if that makes sense.
It does. Yeah, but I mean, if you're going to play devil's advocate, and you guys do the same as we do, as soon as the camera goes off, you look for the plausible explanation because you have to. The explanation we're looking for is one that we can't find. That's the golden goose, isn't it? But you could say it's a technical issue. I mean, we can't say it's not. So, unfortunately, even though it went off 16 times, we've sort of got to approach it with an air of caution. You have to.
You have to look at the big picture. I mean, last year when we done Caldwell, our first investigation there, we had a locked off camera running, and it was the next day we looked at it and it had been off after, was it 6.5 minutes, or 7 minutes?
6.5.
6.5 minutes. And we thought back to the previous night and we thought, well, that's roughly when things started to happen.
Yeah.
After, like 6-7 minutes when we started to get activity and whatnot with the cat balls and the K2 and the necrophonic. And it was a really good event. We get quite a bit that night, but it was after the camera kind of turned off. And was that somebody there saying, I will give you stuff, but I'm going to turn this camera off first?
Possibly, yeah.
We do look for the kind of plausible explanation, and sometimes we make the scenario fit our train of thought. Other times it's no the case. But get back to Paraflex and GSI.
Yep.
Who's all in the team? I know who's all
in
the team.
Who's in the team?
Aye, we know. Everybody watching will know who else is involved.
Yeah, you've got myself and Ralph. We're the co-owners and founders. I'm not being big-headed in saying this, but I do pretty much everything regarding the show. I do the directing, the producing, the editing. If it's not good enough, I'll go back and make them film it again. And then I'm also, I suppose, I don't like the word, but partially sensitive, I suppose. So I'm always drained after a night shift, as it were, when we go out, because I'm pretty much doing everything. But the team's really good. We've got myself and Ralph, then you've got Kim, my wife. She does the narration for the show, and she's been on every season 4 and most for season 3. Funny enough, because for season 1, she said she'd never go on an investigation. She was too afraid. And now we can't stop her going out. She's got the bug.
That's what happens. You do get the bug, And who else is there? You're forgetting a couple of people.
Yeah, we've got Cheryl, She's a camera technician. We've got Rob, who's the lead camera technician, and Chelsea, who's Rob's fiance. She's the researcher. And again, she was from early on. I'll never go out. I'll never do a Ouija board. I'm definitely not going on my own. This series alone, she's done a Ouija board. She's been in almost every episode, and she shut herself in a cell at Dorchester Prison, all alone. So it's crazy how it changes you.
Well, it does. You know, Sarah's been changed quite a wee bit since we started it, as you probably know. Laura, the girls as well, they're getting a bit braver as time goes on. There is a couple of places that the lasses will no go, which is fair enough. You know, we wouldn't make them go anywhere that they don't feel comfortable with. But I think they do get the bug, and you know, the more they want to sort of venture that wee bit.
We don't classify ourselves as a mean team to our staff, if you like. Myself and Ralph have got no brains, and we'll do whatever it takes. Myself more than Ralph. He's quite sensible. There's a line for Ralph. For me, not at all, as you've probably seen from time to time. So we thought season 5's coming up. It's a milestone, you know, the 5th season, going from strength to strength. What can we do to make it that little bit different? So we thought we'd torture the team. So what we're doing, we've got 6 reserve locations. You do have to face your fears, 100%. We've got 6 reserve locations and then 6 high-profile singular locations. For season 5, each team member must tackle a location completely alone. That's including the 4 people that they've promised they'd never, ever, ever be on their own. They've all got to do a singular location to a place they've swore they would never go back to. So me and Ralph wasn't flavour of the month for a while when we told them they was going to do this, as you can imagine. But they are going to do it.
That's quite a good idea. Laura was in the chat. There's a place we do called Loudon Cup, and the girls don't like going down the back end of the cup here. They just point blank, they don't like it. We have got a lot of evidence that there is a male wanders up and down by the name of James Dempster. But they swear so. What Laura has, but I don't. She wasn't forced into doing it. It was suggested to her, you know, by myself. We're going to stick her in the back of Loudon Cup herself.
Why not?
Well, she'll have a torch, you know.
Yeah,
I think
absolutely,
you know, makes a big difference. She'll have a torch. We will be inside the courtyard in the car. Obviously, we're not going to just, because it's kind of like in the middle of nowhere. We're not just going to dump her and then.
No. You've got to have someone there for safety. Yeah, that's what we're doing. We're not just going to dump them in the middle of Cannock Chase Forest and say, right, we'll see you tomorrow morning. But we have told them they're not allowed a torch. If they're going to do it solo, they're going in full, whether they like it or not.
That's a bit mean.
That's very mean. That's why we wasn't flavour of the month. They didn't speak to us for about 2 weeks.
Seriously?
Yeah, including my wife.
Oh, that's bad. That's bad. I don't think we've ever had that, have we?
Well, we're umming and ahhing of whether to, because we're going to put the 6 reserve locations and the other 6 locations in a hat, and each individual will pull their own location out themselves one by one. We're umming and ahhing whether to do that as a YouTube live, just for fun.
I would.
We're thinking about it.
You have our blessing on that one. What's Laura saying? No, if I do it, I want a torch. I'm brave, but not that brave. She'll get, she'll have a torch and she'll have a phone. If I want her to do it is alive, because the signal is quite good at that location. So,
well, we don't want them to have any sort of like comfort blanket. We want their sensors to completely overrule what they're doing, so they get. Is the worst possible experience the right way to word it? In the nicest way. We want them to be petrified, because I'm a big believer that if you've got a scared person in your group, you're always going to get a spirit that will try and home in on them. So whenever we do like a YouTube live for the subscribers, take the subscribers out, we always try and make sure one of them is as scared as they can be. And the spirits tend to feed off that person.
So should we reconsider the torch then?
For Laura, definitely, but for me, for health and safety reasons, I have to have a torch.
Aye, you have to have one. So we'll have a chat with Laura, and we'll say John P. GSI suggested.
Well, the best thing to do, you see, is whoever's going to be there as their sort of security personnel, if you like, make sure they're safe. You take them to the location. You've got the torch to make sure that you get there safe and sound. Then you take the torch away. And so Laura's basically then left there alone without the torch.
A few months ago, if this was suggested, I told the gaffer to dream on, but small sets. No, let's do no what. Let's do it. But there, she's going to do it without any torch. So there you go.
Laura.
Your megastar influence is rubbed off on her.
Well, I say you won't regret it. You might do, but they can't hurt you, or they won't hurt you, so you'll be fine.
I'll take her down. I originally said to her, I'll go in first and I'll have a wee look about and then come back, obviously. But I'll take her down the back and dump her. I mean,
and then just make sure the location's clear. If she wants to wander, 10, 20 meters, that there's no obvious holes, anything she can trip over. Survey that out first, and then if it's a smaller area, she'll have to stay put. But yeah, take the torch away. So when she is getting the sense that there's things around her, there's noise, she's picking things up, you haven't got the comfort blanket of switching that torch on. So the fear will only get worse.
That was my evil laugh there. I don't know if it was. I mean, so that's what's happening, Laura. You've heard it for the megastar himself down there. That's what's happening. There's no getting back, and you've agreed on a live. We've got it in black and white.
Sorry, Laura.
No getting back to blame him down there. Don't blame us. Aye. So what I was going to ask you is, so you're moving on to season 5, right? So after season 1, hey Kathy doll, I forgot what I was going to ask you. After you've done season 1, you've got it in the bag. What's the next steps? What do you start thinking about for season 2? Do you start thinking, well, how can we make it better, or what can we do with it to make it different?
Yeah. Each season's evolved. The first season was some of it was a little bit rushed, because when Paraflex came to us, they said, "Oh, can you do as a pilot? What's the idea for the show?" So I went into detail with them. Can you do as a pilot? So yeah, sure. When do you want it? As 2 days. So that's to get the team together, film it, edit it, and get it over to Paraflix within 2 days. At the time I wasn't well. I had 102-degree fever, and we still went out to Cannock Chase in February. It was about -4 degrees. I was bad for about a week after that, but we managed to get it over. And the first series was sort of like, right, let's just do what we do sort of thing. And then the second series progressed as, right, how do we structure it that little bit more towards not a YouTube audience, sort of like the mainstream audience for a TV show, if you get what I mean.
Mm-hmm.
So we started adding different intros. It was more streamlined. We got a musician from Nottingham to do intro music, outro music, so it was specific to us. Season 3 was similar, but again, it was just made more streamlined. And then at the end of season 3, we took a massive step back and just changed the whole thing. So now it looks like a proper TV show. It's glossy. It's got special effects as far as music goes. So when you've got those little interludes where something happens, you've got the tension music, you've got Kim's narration with music behind that now. So from season 1, it was more like YouTube, to season 4, where it's like a proper TV show now. But each season had its own evolution, if you get what I mean.
You progress as you progress, basically.
Yeah, and that was on our own back. Paraflix were happy with what we were doing, and I wasn't. You know, it was, well, we've done this for season 1, now we need to up it for season 2, then up it for season 3. And then I really wasn't happy after season 3. So, right, this really needs to be elevated now. So that's what we did.
You sound the same as me when it comes. I mean, we've done some videos and what have you, and usual, I think Sarah does all the tech stuff, you know, putting it together and whatnot. And she'll tell you, I can be a pain in the ass.
Very much so.
I hope that's juice you've got there, by the way, no GSI.They.
It's blackcurrant. It's a weekday.
That's. I remember one night you were on during the week and you were sinking the GSI.They.
Yeah, but I was on holiday.
All right, well, true enough. It's a school night, isn't it?
Never in a school night.
But I can be quite, I don't know, pernickety.
Very pernickety.
You have to be.
You know, it's like you get an idea in your head and Sarah puts it together and then you watch it back and you think, no, that's no the way I had it up here.
Yeah, that's how you have to be. You have to structure it how you see it. And when you know, at the beginning, the pacing of the show didn't really matter too much. The intro was the intro, the outro was the outro. Then we started taking notice of the pacing. You know, these sort of like segments are too long. You've got to cut down the necrophonic sections from 15 minutes to 4 minutes because the pacing's all wrong. And it's that basically where you get to after 4 seasons. Do you know what I mean? You've got to make sure each segment, each activity that you're doing doesn't overstep the mark. But that's the joy of editing, I suppose. But today, before I came on, I told you I was editing. And you say you're pernickety. I had to cut out of, I think it's Chapter Mallet Part 2, which I've just finished editing today. It was 0.25 seconds of footage for the sake of an hour and 45 minutes of exporting it. That's how fiddly I am with it.
That's quite 0.25 seconds.
It was 1/4 of a second that I had to cut out because once it came up on the screen, it was just like a quick flash and you wouldn't know it. But I picked up on it straight away. So I had to edit that out today. But then once you've cut that, you've got to make sure the music then lines up because you've already put that over the top of it, which it didn't. So I had to redo the music and then fade it out at the right time. Then I had to spend an hour exporting that to make sure it was all pieced together correctly, just for 1/4 of a second.
I'm laughing at Sarah nodding her head and agreeing. So when we, as I said, we're starting the Wallace Trail in January, and we put the intro together. I don't know how long that took to do, and it's only about a minute and a half.
For 4 hours it took us to do.
Yeah, sounds about right.
And you know, we put it together, and I thought, no, change this, no, change that, no, that's that didn't look right. We were lucky enough the footage we got off a guy called Scott Drone. So we got his permission to use some of his footage and what have you. But I was like, no, I'm not happy with it. No, can we do this? And Sarah was like, you know, she was ready for noosing me, hanging me up, basically.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Sometimes it's a good thing because you've got the image in your head and you know what you want, and you just want to see it kind of done the way you've got it in your head. But does that make
it sense? Does, because then it's your stamp on it. It has to be your product, and it's how you see it and envisage it. And if it's not right, then it's not yours, if you get what I mean. It's almost like you can sit there and you look at it and you can think to yourself, oh, could have done that better. Well, that would just play on my mind if I saw that. You know what I mean? If I saw something, I thought, oh, I could have cut this here, or I could have, well, that doesn't sound right, but I'm not bothered. I can't. I've got to cut it out or redo the sound on it or something. It's irritating.
I know exactly what you mean. You know, I embedded it and thinking, is right, we could do this or we could do that. You know, what if we do this? You know, and it drives you absolutely insane. You know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, you're going to season 5 again, as we said. How much time does it take up your whole kind of normal routine sort of thing?
So, like, when I'm not working full time, the rest of my day, how much does it take up?
Aye.
If I'm editing, all of it. And it's as simple as that, bud, because it's down to me to do it. I try and leave the rest of the team to plan locations, send emails out to certain locations asking if we can get access, costing wise, have a look around for new pieces of kit, what we need to upgrade, stuff like that, really. They try and do most of that so I don't have to. There's phone calls that have to take place. I think there was one day, I think it was a month or so ago, myself and Ralph had to take a day off work because it was on Canadian radio at 5 o'clock in the morning.
These are all screwed up, aren't they?
Yeah. So, it's, even though I took the day off, we had that in the morning, which was a 3-hour show, and then it was editing for the rest of the day. So I didn't have a day off. I think I've got 3 shows left to edit of season 4, and then I'm due a break. I think at least a couple of weeks off, I think.
Oh, no time. You need to get right in there.
I know. But what we'll do in that 2 weeks, you see, we'll be having everybody round to GSI HQ. Right, this is what, flesh out season 5 more. Where do you definitely not want to go? And then we'll make sure that person picks that location just to make it even worse for them. And then just discuss moving onwards and upwards sort of things, structures and where we go from here sort of thing.
You notice how they're changed, where it just says GSI HQ. It used to be Runty John's house. Now it's GSI HQ.
Well, GSI HQ is actually Ralph's ass. he's got the bigger house.
All right. Well, he'll be HQ. You hear some teams that have got, been on HQ and whatever. You always think, well, where is HQ? Where is this?
Yeah, it's Ralph's ass.
HQ. It's Ralph's. It's no one's.
Yeah, it's Ralph's. Yeah.
In a warehouse.
We've got to make him feel important as well, haven't we?
And Ralph's all right, apart from his farting.
Don't go there. He's not stopped and he's not got any better.
Is he still the same?
Yeah, right in between takes when you get in decent footage and all, and you'll just let one go and just start giggling for half an hour. It's like, cheers, mate. That's all that footage now we've got to wipe out.
Well, that's what happens. You get a human trumpet on your team.
Well, he wants to stop eating stuff that does that to him before he comes out in an investigation.
Well, that'd be a start, I suppose. No, I mean, so
I guess it's bad planning.
You keep him away from any cheese and stuff, Doritos and stuff like
that. Funnily enough, it's chicken that does it.
Excellent. I'm really glad you shared that with me.
I knew you wanted it.
I know. Before we move on to, I just forgot my Christmas jammies there.
I just noticed. Lovely.
So, could be shorts or something. Know what I mean? Before I move on to, I was going to talk about how your abilities have came on, but just on the subject of farting, I want to talk about the subject of burping. I've told some people about the Iron Brew experience, but I don't think we've had you on since then. So I would like you to tell people about your thoughts on that night in Sherwood, that fateful night in Sherwood Forrest.
How honest do you want me to be?
Fill your boots.
Okay. Imagine getting a bucket or a small can, whatever, and fill it with the worst kind of fermented piss that you can. Let it go warm and then drink it. Oh no, carbonize it first, get it fizzy, and then drink it. That's pretty much what I had to experience. I'm surprised I didn't bring it back up.
You were close.
Yeah, numerous times.
I don't think you were very, very far away from that. It was the burping effect that I thought was quite funny.
It was trying to come back up. I was trying not to let it, but
I don't think I've ever heard a groan or any human in my life. But the way you did and still be breathing after it.
Well, that just shows what effect that had on my guts when it went down.
See, I actually forgot to tell you, accidentally forgot to tell you how gassy Iron Brew actually is.
Yeah, we found out, didn't we?
And so, but I just, because I've told some people about it and it kind of looked to be funny, like, you know, Iron Brew. The guy's due downed it, but it was a burping effect after it. So I wanted to clear that up, you know. But
it was bad.
It was good. It was good. We still drink it, actually. I mean,
you know, we've got an Iron Brew cheese.
Oh.
What?
Yeah. We saw it. We've not bought it because I've forbidden it. But it was in the supermarket the other day, Iron Brew cheese, and Kim pointed it out. So you can put that straight down. Not a chance. And I love cheese.
I love cheese. And I love Iron Brew, but I don't think I'd like Iron Brew cheese.
Well, you two can try it and let me know.
I'm
going to get it up here.
Well,
I
can't help you being behind the times.
I'm going to need to Google that Iron Brew cheese. I'm going to need to Google because
seriously, yeah.
You know, I've never actually heard it, but I will look into that one. Not that I'm going to try it because I really don't fancy the sound of that at all.
It's not appealing to me, but Iron Brew's not. So Rob drinks it, I think. But I think Rob, you got Rob onto it, so you broke some of us.
So we converted them. Yes, one,
just one.
There's plenty more time to come. At least we got one on our first visit. That's a result for us. You know,
some of us are uncorruptible. Just bear that in mind.
We'll wait and see about that, sunshine. Plenty of time to come.
Did we not take 24 cans down with us, Scott?
I think you did.
I think we took a few, a cargo, as we call it. You know, I only managed one. My chicken.
But, yeah, did you not hear what came out of me? That was enough.
I heard what came out of you, all right. You know, I think Robin Hood heard what came out of you.
He did, mate. He must have been turning in his grave. Jesus.
I think he heard what came out of you. I wasn't going to. So you've noticed that your abilities, have you noticed they've been getting stronger as time goes on with each investigation?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
When did it first kind of hit you?
Notice.
When did it first kind of happen?
It was Grace du Priory in Leicester, and I had to go and remove myself from the investigation. It was in one of the main abbey parts. It's like very run down now. There's no roofs on it, and most of it's just like a run down rubble. And I just kept hearing noises around me, voices, and then I kept feeling that I wanted to be pulled in different ways. I said to Ralph, I don't like this. He says, what's wrong? I said, I don't know. He says, I think I'm going crazy. And I had to go and sit in a corner for about 15 minutes and just try and get myself together because I really didn't know what was happening. And then I spoke to our spiritualist the next day, and she says, oh, yeah, that's just your abilities coming through. You know, was it this? Was it this? Was it this? Pretty much told me word for word exactly what I was experiencing. And she just said, I think you need to come have some spiritual training. Otherwise, you're going to end up rocking in a corner for longer than what you did last night, sort of thing. So I did. Went and had plenty of training with Vicky. Still speak to her most of the time. Always asking for advice and stuff like that. So yeah, it was very scary first time. I thought I was going crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it wasn't a pleasant experience.
So, do you feel that they're getting stronger as time's going on, and that spirit's getting more used to you?
I think, we always try and put some sort of logical spin on it, or some sort of way that we can understand it, because it's very difficult to understand. Like, I can't really explain what it feels like to people, and that's quite frustrating to me. But sort of like if you lined all 6 of us up in the team, and if there was a spirit looking at us, maybe they could see that I had a glow around me, so they could see that I'm able to sense what they're feeling. It's almost like I stand out. Does that make sense to them?
Sort of.
It's bizarre, mate. Yeah, it's almost like they can sense that they can communicate through me. So they send me pictures, feelings, messages. That's the best way I can describe it, but it's very bizarre.
It is quite. I know exactly. I do know what you're talking about. It is quite bizarre. I've had that a few times. Sarah's had it as well. That place we're talking about, we're going to put Laura. We've done it about 10 times or something. One night we were there, it was a family plot, and I was standing, and inside this family plot's fenced off, and I was standing in the back corner, and I had a really, really strong feeling that there was a gentleman standing on the other side of the fence, maybe 2-3 feet away from me. And really, really strong that he was standing there just watching. Wasn't he doing it? He was standing watching us. And I've had that a couple of times when we're wet. And you can't explain it. You just know that they're there.
Yeah.
Or someone's there, you know. I know
that was more sort of how it started. It was more sort of like the sense of somebody's there and they're close, and you sort of know if they were to wander off, you'd almost know which sort of path they were taking. That's how it started, you know, and it's just got more and more from then on, to the point of where we're talking almost like full-blown conversations now. I
think, excuse me, I think the more that you accept it, the easier it gets. But I saw the shadow figure in many. This is Laura's talking about this gentleman again. She saw him in Rigger. That was the last Tuesday. He saw him as well. This shadow figure is the best way you can describe it. But I think Sarah's experienced it as well. You know yourself. I'll let Sarah tell you. She's there. Why am I talking? Sarah can tell you. Realise that? Why am I telling you?
You're on mute, Sarah.
There we go.
Try again.
I said, I don't know why Scott's telling you. Aye. So it first happened at Stair. We were standing and there's like, it's a weird shaped graveyard, to be fair. The church is kind of in the middle, and then there's like wee different sections of it. And I was standing and I felt that, no, the first time we were in the car actually, me and Laura, I think it was, and I kept getting the feeling that there was a man standing on the kind of drive bit. But there was nobody there, obviously. And then it happened the next time we went, except it was like a wee girl that I thought that I was like feeling that she was standing behind a hedge, kind of peering out. And then we went round into that bit, because of course I had said to Scott, and he's like, well, we need to go in there. And I was like, okay. And I went in, and I think I lasted all of 2 minutes. And then I was like, no, I need to get out of here. Like, I did not like that feeling at all. It was just as if, I don't know, it was a really dark, heavy feeling. And I felt fine the minute I went out of that particular wee bit.
Yeah, it was me. What about what we saw in the car, Sarah? What did you see in the car?
That's what we'll talk. That's what I said about the wee man standing on the road.
All right, aye. But I think we say that. I mean, also with early investigations, you know. I mean, I don't always pick up on stuff. We could go weeks and weeks and no pick up on anything. But we said at first that there was nothing. But I think it might sound daft. I don't know. Might sound nuts. But I think the more that she's getting into, the more she's investigating, there's actually the barriers coming down.
Yeah.
You know, I think we've all got this kind of barrier that we know there's something there, but we don't want to accept that there's something there.
I think Chelsea was asking me the other day if it was possible for me to teach her how to do it. And I said, no, you can't teach it. So, but I think everybody has the ability to be able to do what I do. I said, but for me, you've got to have zero doubt. There can't even be a 0.001% of doubt, because then you won't fully believe it. There'll always be that slight bit of doubt, and you'll never be able to open your mind fully to it. I think it changed for me when I got scratched, because I think that's when all doubt went straight out of my mind that night.
At Ivy House.
Yeah, that's when the things seemed to start changing.
I remember watching that one, and you'd a backpack on and 2 or 3 layers of clothes.
4 layers.
Sorry, 4.
4 layers in a backpack and 2 video cameras on me when I was stood in the centre of the room when it happened.
See what happens when you get megastars on? You need to get every detail right, don't you?
When we talked earlier about details.
Well, I missed 1 layer of clothes, for goodness.
Well, you said 2 or 3, so technically you missed 2 layers.
See what I mean? What chance have you got?
No, I just give up, mate.
He's done 4 seasons Paraflex, and he thinks he's Mel Gibson. What can I say? He thinks he's, I forgot his name. Zach Baggins.
Oh, fucking hell, don't go there.
Don't go there. Sarah, it's no Loris at a different time, she says. When you left the car, looked in the mirror, it was like someone was inside the car.
No idea what she's talking about.
I wasn't there, so I don't have a clue. She's no doubt she'll tell you what she's talking about. I don't have a Scooby. So he thinks he's Zach Baggins, UK Paranormal.
Look, we've had this conversation many times. Stop it.
Hey, what did you say at the start? You had 60 seconds to wind me up.
Yes, but he's one of them that, he walks into a place, he hears a knock and runs out screaming. How the fucking hell did he get a TV show?
Well, you see that's it. I think they need to concentrate. I obviously use being on Paraflex. I want your opinion on it. That you get the TV shows and it's all dramatic. I don't know many times I've watched different shows and it's all dramatic, and they'll get a medium in, and it's always a bad feeling or something bad's happened here, and right, I can feel there's a male upstairs, and don't go in that area, don't go in that cupboard, stay away. I think they should try and do a TV series, whatever, with just normal teams.
I agree.
Show, everybody likes to see action. Let's face it, if they're going to watch a ghost show, they want to see something. But on the other side of the coin, why don't they start showing programs where nothing happens?
Not quite. I mean, we've had Paraflix episodes that we've had to put out. And I mean, we try and keep them 45 minutes to an hour. And some of them have been as little as 30 minutes. And they've not been boring in any stretch of the imagination. But as Ralph always says, that's just good editing, because fuck all happened on the night. Absolutely nothing. So we've got to try and come across as we're doing our best to get something to happen. But if it doesn't, you'll see that it doesn't. You'll get 30 minutes of us trying. That's it. And then,
it. I mean, tell you, we've had nights where we've been out and we've had diddly squat, really. Haven't we?
It happens.
Yep.
But I think it would be good to show that instead of all these ghost shows that just constantly show as soon as it starts, bang, demonic, bang, bang, bang,
Yeah, because it's not like that.
Exactly, because I think it's misguiding, it's misleading to people who are maybe coming into the paranormal.
Yeah, it is.
Thinking, right, we'll go and investigate. So they're going to go in their first investigation and expect, Armageddon.
Yeah, and they're very disappointed when it's not.
And then you get these locations as well that are all hyped up. This is really haunted, the most haunted place on the planet, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah. We've had it with Greyfriars quite a few times. We love Greyfriars, as you know. It's became like a second home to us. It's got the reputation of the most haunted kirkyard in the world. You know, it is a beautiful place, and there's tons of history. Some dark, there is a lot of dark history to it. But Sarah will tell you the investigations we have done. I will emphasise, prior to us finding out that they are banned, found out as a band, we've not done anything. I just want to make that clear. I know there are still teams sneaking in, what have you. We've had nothing, as Sarah will tell you.
Yeah, we've had places where, I mean, we usually go to certain locations numerous times because Ralph always says paranormal investigations are like fishing. You can go to one spot and get nothing. You can go to the same spot the next day and get everything. So you have to give it the opportunity by going back 2 or 3 times. It could be circumstances, what we don't understand, lunar cycles, temperatures, different weather patterns. These could all play factors. So we try and get it on 3 different occasions. And we have had it where we've been to a location, got nothing. We've gone back where there's been like a gale coming through, and it's been awful, as in it's been so active, we've almost left, and we've never left an investigation. We've almost turned tail and fled, and that doesn't happen to us. And then we've been back since and nothing's happened. Do you know what I mean? So I think when we understand these sort of patterns where the activity is more heightened, we'll be able to pinpoint locations and better activity in the future. But until then, we're sort of guessing, aren't we?
Right. Do you think that the more you get back, again, I'm going to talk about Loudon, the more you get back to a location, the more spirit recognise you, remember you, and you can build that level of trust that you'll get to that stage where they will finally come forward.
Yeah, we're a big believer in that. Yeah, we do believe that. Obviously, we sort of believe, although we've got no evidence for it, but over the years we've pieced together certain bits of information where we think how you are as a person will be how you potentially could be as a spirit. But if you know that you've passed away and all of a sudden you've got these strangers wandering around, first thing you're going to be is you're going to back off and be untrustworthy. But then over time, if you go back, they'll see how you conduct yourself as an investigator. Maybe there'll be a little bit of trust form, and they'll start playing up for you. That's a theory, anyway.
Well, we've kind of not proved that theory, but we're kind of on the way to. I'm not saying we're going to be amazing. We're going to prove this theory. This is what happens. But Sarah will tell you, this one particular occasion. Every time we get back, we seem to get just that wee bit more, don't we?
Yes.
And it's if the spirits are starting to remember, type, well, they've been here 10 times, whatever. Let's start talking to them.
Possible, yeah.
I know it's a theory, as in yourself, paranormal, everything's theory.
Yes.
Everything's questions, and sometimes an answer can lead to another question, and and I think that's the reason we cannot do it. But what about lesser known locations? I mean, we've been to a few locations that nobody's ever done, as far as we know. Caldwell, for instance, and we've had loads of activity. Do you think that maybe if you get a location that's not investigated that often, that when you go, you have more chance of getting communication because the spirits are kind of, here's somebody coming?
I suppose it depends on the spirit, but if you've got a spirit who in life was shy, retiring, wasn't a people person, then I don't think you'll get anything if you went back several times. But if you had a spirit that could potentially be malevolent and were always open to, someone who was happy-go-lucky, would speak to people, socially acceptable, then yes, I think it's possible. Again, it's finding the spirit that's there, and then trying different techniques to show that you're not a threat, you're not a danger, and that you're just there to try and find out more about them. You make them the spotlight. You know what I mean? Give them give them the spotlight. So hopefully they'll come forward for you, but it doesn't always work. We're a big believer as well that having a diverse group like you guys have got, a nice mixture of male and female and different age ranges is a massive bonus. Because if you've got children, spirits trying to come through, it's very rare that they'll communicate with a male. I find that stay away from me particularly, but they'll go to Kim or Chelsea or Cheryl. They will speak to them because it's like the motherly instinct. Teenagers, it's 50-50. You get your daddy's girl, your daddy's boy, or your mummy's boy, or whatever. So having that different diversity in your group should help you at some point in being able to communicate with somebody.
Well, that's spot on. We have experienced that. With Sarah and Laura, they experienced that last year at Caldwell.
Yeah.
Didn't you, be?
Yeah, the children, especially the little boy and the little girl, they would talk to me and Laura a lot, but then they wouldn't particularly talk to Scott.
Big scary man. That's the way he would be interpreted by them. You know, certain children, won't they, primarily fear a male, where a woman would just have that instinct and that motherly feel would come through to the spirit child sort of thing. So we find that probably 80% of the time the child would gravitate towards a female.
Mm-hmm. We found that quite a bit, and it's another way to validate that, you know, as Laura says as well, as one of these spirits, not just for the ones, people that we do stay the same.
When you have to.
You know, nothing changes, and I mean, just jump back to demonic. But when people say, "Oh, it's demonic," I mean, it might be a grumpy old man that just wasn't a people person.
It's possible. Yeah, absolutely, it's possible. So they just won't communicate. You'll probably find some places most of the times if you're told to get out or leave or something like that, it's a male spirit that will be doing it. It's rare that we find that it's a female. Do you know what I mean? But that doesn't mean that they're malevolent in any way. It probably just means leave me alone. I just want to be left alone.
Well, we had that at Canongate Kirk when we went.
Thank you, Laura.
That night, 2 years ago or something, maybe. Aye.
You zoning out? You on the Iron Brew again, or what?
No, my Wi-Fi keeps going on my laptop. So I'm having to listen into the living room to hear what you're saying to answer you on here.
Oh, right, okay.
So when we went to Canongate Kirk.
Yes, what about it? I didn't like it.
I know what I mean is, I'll tell them. We got this overwhelming feeling that we weren't wanted. It wasn't negative. It wasn't demonic or negative, anything like that. It was just this feeling, we don't want you here. So pee off, basically. Yeah. You know, Sarah went back to the car. I think she locked herself in. No sure.
I was taking pictures of a specific grave, well, a headstone, and I was kind of kneeled down in front of it, and I seen a shadow walk by me. Well, I seen it on the wall in front of me, but it was as if somebody walked behind me. And that creeped me out. Like, that was the first time I'd ever, like, apart from seeing the odd thing in here, like, out the corner of my eye or whatever, that was the first time I'd ever seen something like that. And I automatically turned around expecting a person to be cast in the shadow, and there wasn't a person there. So that freaked me out completely. That, and obviously the feeling of not being wanted there. And I thought, no, I'm out of here.
Yeah, but I mean, again, as a paranormal investigator, Sarah, you've got to resist that temptation to run. You've got to get on top of that fear. Yes, you're getting projected that somebody doesn't want you there, but for what reason? So try and get more information about it. I mean, you're not going to overstay your welcome. You're not going to camp up there or build a house or something, you're going to be there for an hour or so. You will be leaving relatively soon. So try and get more information. If you're getting that feeling, then something's coming through to you. So use it. Try and get more than you're just running off. Come on, put your big girl pants on.
I will consider the possibility of going back. I've said to Scott, from that day until now, I will never ever step foot back in Canongate. I haven't, but I will consider the possibility of putting my big girl pants on and going in.
Good.
Might go to start with.
Just remember, the dead won't hurt you. It's the living you need to worry about. So as long as there's just you guys there, you'll be fine.
Well, I live with Scott, so that's scary as anything.
We might stick her in Canongate on Saturday when we go through to Edinburgh.
I know myself, but
maybe. But no, it was a weird night because Sarah headed back to the car. I felt it as well. You're no walking here, but Sarah went back to the car and I went for a walk in the courtyard, as you do.
Yeah.
And when I came out the courtyard, we were heading to Greyfriars after it, which is about 10 minutes away. I was furious. And I'm quite laid back. I really don't get P-Dog, but I was raging. I wanted to hit somebody.
Well,
why?
Chances are there, mate, was you speaking as you was walking round?
I think I'd done it as a live, maybe.
So you were probably chatting. So what you've most likely done there is you've invited yourself to be open to attachment without knowing you've done it. You've said something which something in the area has gone, brilliant. Because you've got to give permission for them to attach to you. So you probably would have said something, not trying to give permission, but they've put 2 or 3 words as a sentence, which makes it look like you've given permission. So you've been affected. And that's how it's come across to you.
Because I was, and get back in the car, and the further we drove away from it, by the time I got to Greyfriars, I was totally fine.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't. I was just absolutely. I think if somebody walked by, I would just have hit them in the face for no reason whatsoever. And then maybe say, as you do.
Yeah, it sounds like you've had energy projected onto you, but it sounds likely. I mean, that's the only one that I think I've not had yet is the anger sort of like response. Because you've seen me have things attached to me on lives and all sorts because I'm stupid. And different effects all the time. But the anger one, touch wood, is the one that I've never had yet. I don't particularly want it, to be honest.
Well, there's still plenty of time. The one that sticks in my mind with you is when St Mary's Church.
I knew you was going to say that.
I don't know why, but it's just the one that sticks in my mind. You were just, I don't know. No, I think you pushed the boat out just that little bit too deep.
Well, the thing is, this was before, I think it was before I ended up getting scratched at Ivy House. So I wasn't aware of any abilities and this, that, and the other. We knew there was a negative spirit in the area. So I just willed it on. Blatantly gave it permission to attach to me, which it quite willingly did. And yeah, I think that's the only time I've ever regretted doing that. It wasn't a good night. It was a good night, but it wasn't a good night.
You paid the piper for that one, didn't you?
You live and learn, mate, don't you? Like I said to Ralph, unless you push your boundaries, how do you know where that line is drawn? You know what I mean? How do you know when too far is too far? Unless you're going to test that theory out. I tested it on myself. But I paid for it.
I totally agree. We all go to investigations. We all love doing investigations. But to me, if you're sitting in an investigation and you get an idea, you think, do you know what? I'm going to try that and see what happens.
Totally.
You're never going to know. We've done locations and there's one. It's got a massive basement on it. It's a vaulted basement, and we went with another team, and I thought, I'm going to go down there myself.
Yeah,
you can't see that in front of you. I'm going to take. I think I took a REM pod and a K2 down with me, and I thought, I'm going to go down myself. Obviously, anything could happen. But I don't know why I try it. And as it turned out, nothing happened. I think I got a slight flicker on the K2, and that was about it. But if you don't try, you don't get.
Precisely.
You know,
exactly.
Sometimes you can regret it.
Well, as much as I love Ralph, I think sometimes he's a little bit too by the book. He'll sense the red flags straight away and shut something down. Where yes, I can see the red flags coming a mile away, but I want to pursue it a little bit before it starts turning into something more sinister. You know what I mean? I'm one of them that just won't shut the door straight away. Where Ralph is, he'll shut it, lock it, and throw the key away. And I think sometimes he jumps the gun on that. You know what I mean?
That's a good. Obviously, we've worked with you. We've investigated with you in person. A fantastic team. Ralph's a big, plausible guy. You know.
Yeah.
Apart from when he says the benches are 10 minutes away, you know, and it turns out it's about half an hour away. My comments have just disappeared. Why is that happened? The other back.
It was 10 minutes away. You just slow ass walkers. Not you, Sarah. Him.
Oh, it was barely 10 minutes.
It was 10 minutes.
No, I agree. But it's a good balance to have. You've got one.
Only get wee legs, remember?
That's what it was. If I knew how short he was, I'd have given him a bit more time.
I'm sitting down now. I'm 6'3".
Go on then. Carry on.
I forgot what I was saying. If you two years
okay.
The two years have put me off. I was saying. You know, I think that's a good balance to have in the team. You know, somebody who's a bit cautious and somebody who likes to push the boundaries.
Yeah, it's the best balance that you can have, mate. Because through hell and high water, you end up meeting in the middle. So, regardless of what, I push Ralph over his line, whether he likes it or not, and he also reins me in from mine. So we bounce off each other perfectly. Plus, you know, we've got 3 ladies on the team. You've got Cheryl, she's not skeptical. She's open-minded, but always very logical. You've got Kim that always tells me off because she can see what I'm trying to do, and she's my wife, so instantly I get bollockings. But lately, she's just been leaving me to do my thing, sort of thing, and she's just been in awe, I think. Bless her. She always comes away amazed of the stuff that comes out. And then, you know, you've got Chelsea, who's got a very level head on her shoulders, sometimes too much, though. She always looks too deep into the logical answer for me, where if it's not instantly slappable in the face that it's logical, then delve the other way a little bit. Let's have a look into something a bit more interesting. But even when you try and convince her it's not what she thinks it is, sometimes she won't take that as an answer. You know what I mean?
You have got a really, and I think that's why you are doing so well, because you have got a good balance.
Yes.
Well, you've got a mixed bag. No everybody's the same train of thought, you know.
No, exactly, yeah.
You've got a kind of mixed bag there of different personalities and thoughts and theories. Wee bit of skepticism. Can you say that one?
One of them things.
One of them begins with an S. And I think it's good to have that wee bit of skeptic in you, but even though you believe, you know, we believe that there is something after the physical life, but you need to be that wee bit skeptic as well.
Of course you do.
You know,
but the skeptics that if a ghost was to smack them in the face, they still wouldn't accept it. They're not skeptical. They're just complete non-believers. And no matter what evidence was to present itself, they still would not believe. So you're wasting your time with them. A skeptic is someone, if you like, I'll believe it if I see it. Fine. I'm happy with that. Do you know what I mean? We love taking them out on investigations because I like to see the jaw drop when shit's happening and they can't explain it. I took a friend of mine out on one of our subscriber investigations, and he works for the nuclear department at Rolls-Royce. Very clever lad. And I watched his brain melt after 30 minutes. And as much as I was worried about him, I actually loved doing it. Do you know what I mean? Just to see this completely logical person melt within 30 minutes of the stuff that was happening, I found it great.
No, it is. It's really, I was talking to Kimber at the same time last night. When you get somebody who's told you, I don't believe in it, blah, 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 it's all hocus pocus. And then they come out and there's things happen to them. I'm not talking about headstones getting thrown at them or whatever, but wee bits and pieces happen to them or something personal to them happen, where it's a name, a word, whatever it may be. And then you see the look in their face. And I think, well, hold on.
Yeah.
I can't explain that.
Then you see the internal conflict, don't you? And you just see their eyes twitching and the head starts moving a bit as they're trying to sort of like make logical sense of it, but they can't.
It's like
I love that reaction. I think it's brilliant.
Skeptic, believer, and it starts, the pendulum starts swinging.
Yeah.
And you think, well, is it or isn't it? I cannot, And then, but a lot of people think evidence has to be caught on video or audio. But that's no, yourself, that's not the case.
No, not always.
We've been doing investigations and things have happened to us that you don't catch on camera.
Yes. Yeah, there's a lot of that.
You can. It happened to me when we done our Halloween walks. When I done that Loudon graveyard, I was standing and I felt two tugs on my sleeve at the elbow. Just kind of like child tight. Two tugs on my sleeve. There was nobody there. Yeah. But I know I felt these two tugs. And we have picked up on a girl there, a child there before. And it's things like that it's happened because you felt it. Physically felt it. But anybody watching, well, I never felt anything, so how do I know that it's happened? So I think...
Yeah, they didn't feel it, they didn't see it, they didn't hear it, so it didn't exist.
So, so you're talking crap because I never seen your help. So I think people have to experience it for themselves.
They do. Yes, I think most people do, whether you're a believer or not. Because, like you said, there's always going to be that, well, is it? If they've never had any experience, then why should they believe? Don't just take my word for it. Do you know what I mean? I could be making up stories, as could anybody. So, yeah, I know people do say they believe, but you also get that when it does sort of like change for them when something happens. We did a subscriber investigation only about 4 or 5 weeks ago and took a group of 12 people to Mansfield Cemetery. And everyone said there was a believer, as you get. And lots of things were happening during the night. And there's a group of 4 girls particularly who was getting a little bit more edgy as the night wore on. And then we did the last calling out session. And I said to the girls, as I was behind the camera with Cheryl, I said to Cheryl, there's someone behind them girls. I said, watch them in about 30 seconds. And it was a female. And they're all chatting away and they're talking to the camera. And then they got the female whimper through right behind, like the group of, there was 3 of them. It was between 2 of them. And it was like and they melted. They just broke down because they didn't know what was happening. And they tried to stampede. I had to jump in front of 4 of them because they'd just gone. It went from, fight or flight. And they'd just gone completely into flight mode because they realised a spirit behind them had just physically or audibly said something. And they just tried to run for the exit. And I had to jump in front of them to stop them.
It was just that moment of realisation, right?
That was where the penny properly dropped for them, right at that point. And I caught that on camera as well. I caught it happen on camera. You can hear the whimper loud as day. And then you can just hear them all, what they, fucking hell was that? And then they just tried to leg it.
I think sometimes that's all it takes. It's just for them to hear one noise that doesn't fit in.
Because there was nobody behind them, so it couldn't have been anybody else.
It doesn't fit into their surroundings or anybody that's with them is totally kind of an alien noise. I'm not saying spaceship or nothing like that. What I mean is, it's doesn't. Wait a minute, that doesn't fit in here. We all go to locations, we'll hear stuff. Done it myself. But I heard, all I can describe it as rustling footsteps on leaves. But there was nobody there. But I didn't immediately say, right, that's spirit. That's what I heard. It's been heard a few times, and Rigger heard it last week when we were there. He heard the same sound. But I think you just need people to experience that one. There's a cat behind me, isn't there?
Also, that's it. Just that one experience. That's all you need.
That's all it takes to make you a believer. What made you a believer, Sarah, actually?
Well, what, sorry?
I would say, Sarah, what made her a believer?
I don't know. I'm not 100% a believer. I'm still kind of 50-50.
So what about seeing this bloke on the road? How do you explain that?
It could have been somebody that was there.
You know that look I said when the brain starts?
I don't know.
I love
with the greatest respect, Sarah, I don't know is not an explanation. If you can't explain it, then you have to look paranormal. Otherwise, there's an explanation.
I think when we first started, I was 50-50. Now I'm about, 70-30.
Again, it's that seeing is believing, isn't it? When something, or if something physically happens to you, then you'll be a believer for 100%.
So it's only took to see this cat. Took about 2 years or something for her to get that extra 20%. She'll get there eventually,
It's moving in the right direction, bud. That's the main thing.
It is moving in the right direction. But just before, I know you're up for work in the morning, young man, and what have you. Just before we wind it up, it's two things I want to ask you.
Sure.
I watched you were in a prison and you were in a cell sitting on a bed, a bunk, whatever you call it. What were you feeling then? Because it looked as if you were getting all different kind of, thoughts, emotions, whatever your feelings coming through. Do you remember the one I'm talking about?
Yeah, I think was that the one when I was crouched down?
Aye.
That was Dorchester Prison. As soon as I walked in there, a lot of things hit me straight away, mate. And they had a tour guide who used to be a prison guard when the prison was open there, called Ed. And he was wandering around doing a tour. And I was right at the back, and I said, as long as you don't give any information out, I'm fine. And he was starting to talk. He took us down to the women's wing, and he says, oh, this was 1700 or something. I said to Kim, he's wrong. She says, what do you mean? I says, this is much older. I says, ask him later about the women's wing. I says, but you're talking 1100s here. And she was like, right. And then all the way through this tour, kept seeing this figure just sort of like popping out and popping back in, almost like trying to get attention. It was a bloke. About 10 minutes before I went in that cell, I heard Ralph shout. We was on C Wing, I think it was, in one of the big open areas, and I heard him shout. I said, you all right, mate? He says, yeah, I've just seen a figure pop his head out. He says, in the cell right across, which is the cell that I ended up going in.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got the rest of the team to go. I said, I think somebody's trying to bring a message through. He says, but he seems awfully standoffish. So I think if we let the rest, because we was with Stranger Nights Paranormal and the public that night, so if we let them sod off for a break, then just our team will go into the cell. And we'll see if we can get this message coming through. And then it was almost like images and pictures, what he was showing me of what had happened to him. And after he'd given me the message was, he was covered in rags, but I mean, it was prison uniform, but it was all torn and dirty and ripped. and he kept doing this with his hands. He had bracelets on, handcuffs, and he kept doing that. And it, over the course of the information, I was saying, he's showing me that he's gone to a bridge, he's fallen in, he's drowned. It was the manacles that dragged him down. Says this place was where the executioner lived.
Mm-hmm.
And then when we went back outside, Rob spoke to Ed, who called me down, and I retold Ed the story, and he said to me there was a prisoner. I got the name Benjamin come through. There was a prisoner from that particular cell who escaped because he was an innocent. He made his way along the river to Hangman's Cottage, which was where the executioner lived, and he slipped and fell into the river and he drowned. He says, but that's not public knowledge. You couldn't have known that. And he says, he can't remember what his name was, but he had a cellmate who also escaped, and his name was Benjamin. And when the name Benjamin came through to me, I said, I'm getting the name Benjamin, but that's not your name. It's either fake or it's somebody else. That's what I was seeing. It was almost, the only way I could describe it to the team is, he's showing me his name's Benjamin, but it's hollow. It's almost see-through, which says to me that it's either not his name or it's fake. Do you know what I mean? So if you was to see a name in letters, if it was his name, it would be solid. You won't be able to see through it. Where that wasn't, it was hollow. You could see through it, which said to me it was either fake and he had a cellmate called Benjamin who escaped. So,
because I did watch it, and I was quite intrigued by it. But I mean, when you get information like that, how can you debunk that? You can't debunk that, especially when there's no public knowledge.
I insist on not going in any records. Have the team tell me anything. If there's a tour, unless they guarantee me that no names will be told, I won't go on it. Oh, and getting back to the castle thing, the women's wing as well. When Kim asked Ed about the women's wing, it used to be a medieval castle. 1153 was when it was a castle.
So,
which is what I told her that was at the beginning. But we went to Hellfire Caves last week or week before, and as soon as we started the tour, she started saying names out. So I left. I mean, it was a 30-minute tour of the entire cave system, and I said no, so I'm not interested. So I went and sat outside on my own, and then 10 minutes later, Rob came and joined me, because I don't want information. Do you know what I mean? People might have a hard enough time when these informations or these things are coming through to me to think that I've already looked it up or something. But to go on a tour and have these names banded about on camera, they'll just think that it's faked. So I refuse to do that.
That's exactly it. I mean, we all know a famous TV program that was, I don't know if it's still on, but it used to be on where, the medium was always going blind, but they obviously know where they're going and they've Googled stuff, and we've seen people do it as well. I mean, what, for instance, is ex-associates of ours, shall we say. We did a set of vaults about a month ago, was it be? 4 or 5 weeks ago in Edinburgh, and we get nothing, totally flat night. We were in there 3 or 4 hours, absolutely nothing. So we left it. We was maybe in there till about 6 in the morning, but we left about 3:30 or something. We thought, time, we're going home. But in this particular set of vaults, there's a room and there's a stone circle in the room. And this other team had done it a few weeks back, and it's ex-associates of ours, and their so-called medium was in saying, there's fire coming up through this circle, what a sacrifice, negativity, it's pushing me this way, and she was pacing back and forward, all that kind of stuff. This is a portal, definitely a portal here. It was negative, demonic, we're all buggered. Basically.
Yeah.
I spoke to a very reliable source the following day who knows the owner of the vaults. And he told me that stone circle was placed there in 1984.
Right.
for effect. That's all it was.
So it's fake.
There was nothing satanic, or he says there was extra stones, and the guy decided to make a circle in a room just for effect.
Yeah.
You know, there's also another room in these vaults, and they call it, I think, the witch's room or something. And they had another medium room. This medium was saying there was babies buried in the walls and stuff like that, you know. But she went to this witch's room, and there's an altar and pentagram in it and what have you. And she starts to say, I'm getting people getting back and forward like this and chanting and blah, blah, blah. Turned out it was the wrong room. The room that they were standing inside was just a replica.
Yeah.
You know, they'd all been kind of made up, and it was just one of these things that, it just got to me, you know. And it's when people, and so they've obviously Googled, you know, prior to going to the vaults, experiences and stuff, and they've just came up, because this stone circle's quite famous.
Yeah.
And they've Googled it, and right, okay, we'll have hell and brimstone flying out of that, and we'll have babies buried somewhere in walls and all that bollocks, basically.
Yeah.
So it is good to go in blind when you don't know. You might know a wee bit of history of the place, when it was built or whatever, stuff like that. But names and dates and stuff, it is good to go in blind because it validates it more.
I just go in completely blind, mate. I don't know. I don't take dates. If someone says to me, right, we're going to Shepton Prison, all I know is it's a prison in Shepton. That's as far as I know, and I don't want to know any more. These lot are brilliant. They never tell me anything, not a single thing. You know, Rob will research it for his clarification later. You know, he'll make notes on his phone and things. So as I'm knocking things up, he can tick them off. We went to Gloucester Prison, and we had a tour guide with a guy who showed around some of the most haunted team. Apparently, Carl and Stuart still go there. Simon, his name was. And he'd seen all sorts of stuff over the night, you know. And over the course of the night, I had 3 separate messages coming through. And he was impressed on the first one. He said the second one was good, but there's a bit of ambiguity there. And I said, it's fine. I said, but there's one place I want to go. And it was kitchen area. I said, oh, yeah, there's somebody in there that nobody ever gets. I said, well, that's fine then. So we went in. And the girls and this, that, and the other are doing their thing. Hi, guys. And he says, are you getting any names yet? I said, to be honest, I'm not. I said, I'm not feeling anything. He said, do you want me to tell you? I said, no. Give me 5 minutes. And he's wandering around. I said, do you want me to tell you now? I said, no. And about 10 minutes later, he came to him. He said, John, I'm going to need to tell you. He says, because you're not getting it. I says, well, I'll be honest, Simon, I've had a name come through. I says, but it's very unusual. And he says, well, what's that, Anne? He says, I said, the name's Albert. And he just looked at me and went, fuck me. He said, nobody knows that. So he said, how do you know that? I said, I've got the name Albert coming through. And I says, and he's a womanizer, he's a rapist, and he stood over there in that thing, isn't he? He says, yeah, that's, if women go in there, they can feel him. So we sent 2 of the team in. He was feeling a bit weird. So then I kicked him out. I says, right, I'll go in. And I saw him say to Kim, let's see how much he gets then. And every time I must have been in there 10 minutes, mate, reeling off all this information about him. And every time I said something, I could just see him go, fuck me. For 10 minutes straight. And then afterwards, he says, how do you know that? I said, I don't know. But was I right? He said, yeah, you was right on everything. I said, but I don't know. It's just what's coming through.
I totally get what you mean. And obviously, you've got this guy's name and what he was, you know. And if nobody knows that, then how, as I say again, you can't debunk it. How do you debunk that? You can't say, well, you've read that in a book or, you know, whatever. You can't. And I think that speaks volumes that your abilities are really coming on.
They are, mate. I'll leave you with one more, mate, before I go. So if I may, just before I shoot. Hellfire Caves last week we was at, and I refused to go on anything tour-wise. It was very quiet, up until a certain point where we'd gone outside for a break, and Rob said, "Shall me and you go for a walk around while there's no one there?" I said, "Yeah, go on then." So we went down. It was about halfway down, and I got the sense of a woman in front of us. It was, say, once a woman, it was a teenager. And I said to Rob, "This woman, like, she's over there. She's about 10 meters away, but she's shit scared of us. She won't come near us."
Mm-hmm.
He said, "Well, will she communicate with anybody else?" I said, "Yeah, there's a woman that works here called Willow. She'll communicate with her, but I don't know why." So anyway, Rob went and got her and the rest of the team. And she says, "Yeah, I'll come down." So I had Willow say on camera, "Do you know me?" She said, "No." "Have you told me anything about this place tonight?" She says, "No." I said, "Right. Do I know anything about you?" She said, "No, not at all." So for the next 30 minutes, I went reaming off everything about this spirit. And she just sat there with her mouth open like, "Yeah, yeah, yeah." Now, this 15-year-old girl apparently had been killed. It's documented that she was killed by 7 men, this 15-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
At the time, I said to Willow, it feels like she was killed by 7 men, but she wasn't, because I'm getting something different. That's a lie, isn't it? And she said, yes. And it's not documented that it's a lie either. It's in the papers that it was 7 people. So, but it's not. It's 2 people. It was 2 young men that killed her. And she says, "There's no way on earth that you could know that." And I said, "But there's something strange with you." She was stood next to me. I said, "It's almost like you two are sisters." So she sees you as a comfort blanket. I says, "And I don't, does she communicate with you?" She says, "Oh yeah, all the time." I said, "But there's some sort of thing between you, isn't there?" And she didn't say anything until afterwards. Now, apparently, I think it was the 1885 or something like that, where this teenager had been killed. She'd been duped into believing she was going off to marry somebody, and then she was chased into the caves by these 2 men. The only person that she told where she was going was her best friend called Catherine. And Willow had been previously to a medium or to whoever does it, and she'd been regressed into a past life, and it turns out that she was Catherine. How can you know that?
You can't know that.
How can you know that?
It's impossible to know that. I mean, and I think it's just amazing when you sit and you tell us, because obviously, as I say, we've known you for over 2 years now, and the way you've come on, just the team, you know, but with your abilities and all.
I've got a lot of Vicky to thank for that, mate, because she spent a lot of time with me. I'd probably still be rocking in a corner, drooling, if I'd not had somebody make sense of the madness, shall we say. Do you know what I mean?
Drinking and
yeah, that's definite madness. But since I've been able to embrace it and understand it, it's become stronger and stronger and stronger. Do you know what I mean?
And it became part of your life as well.
Mm-hmm. I told Kim the other day, there's a little girl in our new house. So as I can sense her around, and she's freaking out now. Where is she? Oh, no, back in there. She's here somewhere.
She's just wandering about. But
yeah, I'll pick up on her at some point and have a chat with her.
You'll meet her. Well, one last thing before we come off. I'll opinion on it very quickly. As you know, we're starting next month. It's called Unknown Waters. The whole idea behind it is everybody investigates on land, obviously. But we have managed to secure a boat, and we're going to go on the water basically and investigate to see if water can be active. What's your thoughts?
Okay. It'll be an interesting experiment, mate, because water can act as both a conductor and a cleanser. Mm-hmm. So how are you going to be able to distinguish between the two? I'm not so sure. So maybe research that before you go out, bud. How do you get the cleansing effect? It's not a cleansing effect. Sort of like a stronger effect from water. It can make things stand out. I don't know what the word is. I'm missing the word. But do you know what I mean? It can cleanse it so it clears things, but it can also enhance things. So try and research how to get the best enhancement effect from water. And that might aid you. Interesting experiment. I look forward to seeing the conclusion on that one, mate.
Well, we're planning on making it a regular thing because there's a lot of locks. Where we're going, it's called the Firth of Forth, and there's quite a few locks and there's quite a few wrecks as well in the area. And you can't get to them by car. Some of these, there's castles and stuff that sit on the banks that are just impossible to get to by cars, but you can get them by boat. So that's our kind of whole kind of thinking. We're going to, the first one will be out for a couple of hours to see what happens, but we're going to make it a regular thing and venture further up the locks and whatever. But I wanted your opinion on it. That was it. But we'll wind it up there.
Okay.
But we'll hold you for a wee second or two after we come off. So where can people find you?
Oh, for Christ's sake. I just can't remember all the links. Instagram, GSI Paranormal IG. Thank you, Kathy. Instagram's GSI Paranormal IG. Facebook, GSI Paranormal Events. YouTube, Ghost Sighting Investigators and Paraflix. The TV show's called In Search Of. 4th season will air end of the month, beginning of December. Thank you, Laura. If you're interested in Paraflix, I think it's £3 a month. And if you go to the monthly checkout, you put in the code GSI10, you'll get a nice discount for 3 months on that. Like I say, check out the show and let us know what you think. So they can find us everywhere.
They're everywhere, folks. You see, right at the start, very quickly. The one of the first teams Sarah and I ever interviewed way back September time 2020, and they've really come on miles and miles since then. But again, I will emphasise that even though they're doing fantastic on Paraflix, etc., they have kept it genuine and down to earth. They've not changed anyway that way. John, we've vacated sometimes, but I will. But no, definitely go check them out because they are a wee with family. You know, simple.
Always.
So we will leave it there. Thanks to everybody. Thanks to John for coming in.
Thanks to everybody. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks to Sarah for joining us as well, even though she froze a couple of times.
Yeah, for half of it. Thanks, sir.
Thanks, everybody. Chat, your comments and whatnot. You're all very much appreciated. We're back live on Friday with Jenny from Emerald Isle Paranormal, and then we're out this weekend. We are going to Edinburgh to do the Nidri Street Vaults, but before that, we're going to pop into Greyfriars and catch up with our good friend Jamie Christopher, have a wee chat, a wee wander around. So that's this Saturday as well. We're looking forward to that. And but definitely check out this guy down here and the rest of his team because they're all. They might be English, but that's not their problem. You know, they're all nice.
Can't help that, can we?
No, that's not your fault. No. So we'll leave you there, folks, and thanks for joining us and take care. So,
pleasure.
Bye.